Welcome to S&G. I don't even know where to begin here. This is this Star Hub is turned into, like everything else, is a it's a journey. It's a journey. So it's hard to find. There's good information in the service manual. Not a lot on video that I can watch. So I've kind of pieced some of this together. So if there's anyone out there that wants to line me out on how anal do Harley Davidson motorcycle techs get, I'm sure it varies, right? And I don't know what's crazy and what's not crazy as far as how far you take this stuff, but I'm just reading the manual and I'm thinking, okay, each one of these shims, and these shims are how you set up the side-to-side, or what they call end play, for your bearings. So you shim that to accomplish that, and we'll get into how you do it, but I don't know if you can see that, how thin that shim is. Hopefully you can see it, but it's like a lot thinner than a razor blade. And they're supposed to be 200 thousandths. I mean, that's the size of like a human hair. So, or 2 thousandths, not 200 thousandths, 2 thousandths each shim. And by the way, I found a boatload more. Thought I had 3. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over here. So I start to check these shims. And you can see, here's one I cleaned up. And I don't know, I'll get around here to see if you can see it. And I'll try not to make I shined that up to take the stuff off of it. They're all cleaned. I've cleaned them. The grease is off of them. But I have ones like this. And this is just the way they look when you clean them up. You know. And you can't hardly even feel any of that stuff. It feels smooth, but you can see the dark patches. So I thought, well, hell, I've got a mic here. I'm gonna mic it. So I mic'd this one right here, and this is how I set this up. I'm not going to get into how to read a mic or anything like that. There's a lot of good videos out there on how you zero them out, how you read them, so on and so forth. But I mean, these things measure thousands. So, you know, percentages of the thousands. So I've got this one in here, right? And I'm checking the thickness of it. And the thickness of this one happens to be almost 4 thousandths, 2 thousandths bigger than what they're supposed to be. And I'm thinking, wow, for just a little bit of dirt, what am I going to have to do? Am I going to have to sit here and set these things on here and go around in a circle and clean both sides and work this stuff off of them? They came out of a wheel, right? I did that. And when I cleaned them all up, I'll be damned if they weren't 2 thousandths. So I'm thinking that leads me to believe that, gosh, the end play, per the manual, says that I want the end play bearing outer cover completely screwed down, a clearance of 5 to 7 thousandths. 5 to 7 thousandths. That's a 2 thousandth. That's a 2 thousandth. I have to be within 2 thousandths, between 5 and 7 thousandths of end play. I just wiped off 2 thousandths cleaning one of these little flat pieces off. So if I had put them all dirty, I'd have, and they were all, let's just say they all averaged 1/2. They were all measuring 3 because they were dirty. I'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd be 7 thousandths over. And I only have 2. So I'm thinking, wow, how precise do people get, right? And I'd be willing to bet that it's not as precise as, you know, I'm sure you want to get as close as you can. I'd love to hear a guy that does this all the time, and maybe they do. I'm going to sand them all down. I'm going to get them all to 2 thousandths, and I'm going to do the best I can to get this set up between 5 and 7 thousandths in play. So just to show you what I'm doing, not only that's how you set the in play, you have to also check the bearing, and they want anywhere from 1 to, I think, 15 thousandths. Anywhere from 1,000 to 15,000 clearance between your roller bearings. That's the slop they want with your roller bearings. So if you don't want to know about this stuff, you can click this thing off, because this is just going to get into how to measure that stuff. And it's kind of, to me, it's interesting because I've never done it before. And I'd love to get some input. And I am going to talk with some guys that do this, and I'm going to see how, I mean, you have to go to a lot of time. It'd take a lot of time to pay somebody to do this. So I'm really intrigued on how they do that. How deep do they get in? How much do they worry about it? Is it more of a feel thing than it is a mic thing? I don't know. I'd like to know better than I do now. But I'm going to go by the book, and here's what I did in short. These tools, this is one way. There's many ways to measure inside diameter. This is one way. And what you do is this one's already set up, so I'll grab a different one. You take one of these, and these are spring loaded. So you make it bigger than what the inside circumference is, meaning that, you know, you collapse it to put it in there, and you put it in at an angle. This bearing rides, here, this bearing rides this bearing rides in here, about 1/2 inch. So you take this and you stick this in and you angle it like this, cock it in this way, right? And you tighten this up a little bit to where it holds it there. And then as it's in, you kind of feel where it binds and get in the center, and then you pull it back and pop it out, and it ends up staying there, and that's how you get your reading. And you want to do it 2 or 3 times and get it in the center, you know, and you'll be surprised how many different readings you get to you. It's a feel thing. It's a complete feel thing. So once I had that, I knew what the inside diameter was. I took this micrometer, right, and I actually, this was a smaller one, you know, after I zeroed it out, I threw this in here, and I went ahead and I measured. this is another thing that's a feel thing, because if this is cocked or tilted, you know, you want to just kind of work it, feel it, and until you're on the tip of each one of these, and then lock it in. And again, we're not going to go over how to use this and take a measurement. They want between 1 and 15 thousandths. So once I figured this out with this tool and I measured it, I took my bearing and this bearing, the bearings ride on this shaft, this spindle. The bigger bearing rides here, the smaller bearing rides here. So I dropped the bearing on, okay? I set this up. I took this mic and I put it on the bearing and pushed the bearings together to where these bearings are pushed up against the shaft, and I measured that. So I knew that this was all tight. And then what I did is once I felt good about my measurement, trying to see how I can show you, you know, here, right, pushed with the bearings pushed in against the shaft, so I know that there wasn't any play. I then deducted this measurement from this measurement. And what I came up with was, for the big bearing, 515 thousandths opening, 510 thousandths, and I'm rounding up a little bit to thousandths. 515 thousandths to 510 thousandths, which is a 5,000 difference that they want from 1 to 15 thousandths. So I'm right in the middle. I'm happy with that bearing. I did the same with the front bearing, and it was like 3 thousandths, 3.5 thousandths difference. So how detailed do you need to get? I really don't know, because I've never done this before, but I'm having fun, I'm learning. I think I'm in a good spot with both bearings, and now all I have to do is clean this stuff up, fit it all together, and you do fit it together. When you put it all back together, you do not put this cork in. That's a cork gasket. I thought they were rubber at first, but they're not, they're cork. You do not put that in, but you tighten everything down with your gaskets in as if you were finished, and then you read your measurements. So once I get this all put together and mocked up, maybe I'll show you how it all fits back together, but we'll try that out. I'm waiting on a part. I'm actually waiting on a gasket, this gasket here. And you buy a gasket and these 2 new cork sets, and we'll be good to go. So anyhow, interesting. So how precise, what should you worry about? My guess is a lot of people look at them, if they roll smooth, they don't have a lot of side-to-side play, they don't have any up and down play, you're going to roll with them. I probably would. So I know now more than I did before I started. So if anybody has any input on what your thoughts are, what you do, what you think is important or not important, leave a comment. That's how we're all learning. So I'll be back in just a second, as soon as we get some of this cleaned up, put back together, or ready to put back together. All right, well, ready to start fitting this back. I recommend you having a manual. This will show you the hub and all of the pieces, parts, and how they fit in. And hopefully I can get this together in one shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what they call the hub inner sleeve, and my bearing is going to slide on the hub inner sleeve from the bottom through the small one, up, bearings facing toward me to where I could remove the bearings coming out this way. I then should be able to come through and if I'm lucky, oh, there goes a bearing. Then I have to get back in there. It's going to be fun. I really don't want to burn your guys' time up, but so I'm going to hold this right now and pull that back out, get that bearing in. Maybe I'll get it the second time. I guess maybe an easier way. Because remember, I'm a virgin here. Would be to put your bearing in first with your bearings facing you that could come out towards you, which is what the manual says. Then we can put our shaft in. That seems a little bit better. Then we're going to have what they call the roller bearing washer, which is next. Rolling bearing washer will go in. Then our snap ring is going to go in. Now, the great debate. There's a way snap rings go in. There's usually, when they stamp them, there's a smooth side and there's a rough side. This is the smooth side. This is the rough side. So I'm going to put it in where the rough side is facing out so that when it drops in, and I hope I'm remembering right. I've put them in for 35 years, not necessarily this style, but other ones, and hell, I've had them in backwards and forwards and didn't even know they went in a different, a proper way. So, but that's how I'm going to put this one in. So, we'll see if we can get this dropped in. And when you get older, man, you need light. You just need light. Let there be light. And what I want to make sure, that I have dropped into that slot. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it. And I can spin that around so I know I'm in that slot. I'm happy with that. So the next thing I'm going to put in is this cork washer. Now I do have a new one on its way, and I probably should wait for that one, but I'm excited. Okay. The next thing that goes in is, they call this the retaining washer. The retaining washer will go in, it's got a raised edge here, the raised edge facing me, like that. And then there'll be another snap washer, and I'll feel the sides. Okay. Well, I can see the way this one was in. Okay. So, see if we can get this one in. And then I'm going to take this, and as you can see, I'll watch this to where I spin it. See how I spin that? If it wasn't in that groove, I couldn't spin it. It'd be tight. So I feel good. I feel good about that. So that's this side. Now we're going to do this side. This roller retainer thrust washer goes in next. Okay, so that goes in next. That's going to allow that bearing to set back in flush like I thought it would. There we go. A lot better. A lot better. Okay. All right, let's start to put this side back together. So we have a gasket, we have a thrust bearing housing, we have our shims, we have thrust bearing washers, and the thrust bearing sleeve. So I'm going to look at the order that this goes in on this side, and what it's basically saying is this gasket would go on here. Okay, then let's build this together and see if we can get a little so I'm going to take this and I am going to drop in a, let's take a look here. I'll actually go from the other side, be a little easier. I'll take one of these thrust bearing washers, okay, and then I'll take a thrust bearing sleeve, all right, and I'm going to keep this at noon for now. That will set on there like that, and this other thrust washer will go on here, so we'll have one on each side of this thrust bearing sleeve. Next comes all your shims, so I'll drop on the 7 shims that came out of the bike that I have cleaned up. Okay, they're all on there, and those will all match up to this, and you can see where the Zerk fitting is here. That's where the kind of the top of the triangle, these pieces here are. So I will fit that now in there. Try to keep it up where you can see it. So it all fits like that. Now what I'll want to do is I'll want to get this set on here with this gasket and get the screw started. So I can hold on to this piece And I know that when I took this off, my Zerk fitting was facing my air chuck, or my for inserting air in the tire. So I'm going to come this way. There we go. And I will start one of the screws. It has a washer on it. Come on, fingers, don't fail me now. There you go. And we'll get one more on there. And what I'll do is I'll put the other three in, lay this down flat, tighten these really, really tight, and then I will set this up and show you how to check the end play. So one of the things I forgot to mention is once you have this star torqued down, I did not put, there is a cork washer that goes on here, and then this slides on. Cork washers between this star housing and this star housing, and then you tighten everything down. When you're setting up your shims, your end play, I put those 7 or 8 shims in, okay, and tighten these down. You want to test this without this cork on and without this top cover on, per the manual. So that's the reason I haven't installed this. So I will set this up on a jig, how I'm gonna check the end play, and that'll be our last step. And then once we know that the end play is right, we remove a shim, add a shim, get it to that point, or get it to that 5 thousandths to 7 thousandths range of end play. We can then put the gasket on, the cork gasket, take out the bolts or the screws, put the top cap on, and seal everything up. So this is what I've MacGyvered up. Under here, I have my shaft in my wheel. I have a piece of brass sitting on my shaft at the bottom. And the only reason that that's there is because I want to keep that hub off of the top of this so that I know that we're pushed this way as much as we can. So right now, that's where I'm setting. If you come up here, I put a magnetic arm, come up through the rim, through the wheel, through the laces, spokes. And here's my my gauge. So what I want to do, I'll set this up and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I have never done this before, so I'm curious if there may be an easier way to do this. But right now, what I want to measure is my end play. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to grab this piece here to hold it down, and I'm going to lift the rim up. Hopefully you can, I'm going to move this around so you can see this. Oh. There you go. So I'm going to reach around, and I'm going to grab this top piece here, and I'm going to lift this up. And here's my end play that I have. You can hear it. So how much is that? That's what this is going to be for. So I'm going to get ready to measure that, and I'll be right back. I'll get that set up. And if you couldn't see what I was saying, that's what this is for. So bear with me. I'm really not sure how well you'll be able to see this, but you have an idea that I have this kind of set up, measuring this. As I pull it up to see how much, I'm going to take this and I'm going to zero it out. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to grab these. I'm going to put my thumb on this collar and I'm going to lift this up. And I'm going to look to see how many thousandths this thing has play. If anybody knows an easier way to do this, this is the first time I've ever done this. There's no instructions on how to do it. I haven't seen anything on the internet, meaning YouTube. So let me know. I think this will get me where I want to go though. So I'm going to hold here. And if you can watch that gauge, I'm going to come up. See that difference right there? That's 12 thousandths. 11 thousandths probably. So, if I have 11 thousandths in play, I'm supposed to have between 5 and 7. Each shim is 2 thousandths. So if I wanted to be in the middle of the 5 to 7 and said 6, 7, 8 would be one shim, 9, 10 would be another shim, 11, 12. So between 2 and 3 shims need to be added. My guess is pop 2, but I don't know. So I think I'm 2 shims, 4 thousandths shy of where they would like me. Are the other shims, hell, there was a 2 thousandths on one of the shims just having dirt on it. So maybe I don't need to do any of this. So all you Star Hub gurus, help a brother out. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious. But I think I'm going to add a couple shims. I'll dry fit it again. I'm not going to show you that. This video is already too long. It's taken me a lot longer than I thought, like everything does. And appreciate you watching. Smash that bell, pat that poodle bug, smack that monkey in the mouth, or whatever you're supposed to do. Thanks for watching. If you ride them, wrench them, but only if you want to. See you.